We're going to discuss and experience many of the techniques of spiritual enhancement today, the relaxation techniques, and mostly go into what will work when we're conscious of our own supposed subconscious. All the childhood traumas we have locked in here, they don't have to be traumatic. That just simply means that they locked in and they're part of our conditioned experience of the person we believe we have to be, and the fears we might hold, and the trepidations from our experience. And then beyond that, we're going to dive deeply into this expression of the universe called God, which is a living presence. It's a person. God is a presence, unimaginable sea of love, kindness, humility, and infinitely more every moment that we experience it than we thought it was in terms of God's judgment and understanding. And all of it is given to us in this experience called illumination, enlightenment. And that's why we're going to try to wipe the slate clear today of our incidences of learning in this life that we may or may not have wanted. But all of them have been guided. The negative part of it has been allowed to be guided in a certain way where we can understand what this world is. It's the statement of we have two lives, the life that we learn with and the life that we live afterwards. And we're going to see what we've learned by being here as spiritual presences in a lost continent. It's a lost world. It's a lost place in infinity. When you're spiritual, you'll feel ecstasy, joy, happiness, fulfillment, a genius far deeper than any human being could ever imagine, because as soon as you experience it, you drop being a human being. You're an endless quiet. The world that seems to be is over for you. You read it in the writings of all the Walt Whitmans, the Gibrans, every mystic. There are so many thousands of writings, and they just take us away. But this is that land that we're taken to. This is the other shore. And this is the real you. If this weren't the real you, we wouldn't be talking about spiritual empowerment or working through the different areas of our consciousness in different ways that work for us to calm our senses, our body, our breathing, whatever. And when the waves of the mind become very quiet and still, then you're not attached anymore to this world. And that's the idea of the hidden responses we have, the buttons we have about life. And they've been installed by this world. It could be family, friends, institutions, environment, doesn't matter what it is, sickness, it's all the same thing. It's conditioned. So let's begin the process of deconditioning. When I was in Tibet, they had I forget what they called it, it's the time machine meditation. It's where you step back to before your birth, and maybe before any birth, quietly, which we'll do now. And we'll re-experience all the conditioned experience that we've had. We've all been through the most horrible nightmares, and we never want to discuss them with people. And when we do, we try to embellish it with something to give it some humanity and what we've learned from it. And today we're going to drop it all forthwith in favor of this pure land that the Buddhists talk about, which is beyond the conditioning. And as soon as we drop it, everything being said about illumination and God, they just appear and they just are. And you'll be the finest, deepest, most intelligent, caring, healing, powerful, but in a very delicate way, being. that the world could ever imagine. And the world can imagine it because it is the real you. So let's go back to the time before time was, to the time machine meditation. We're going to simplify it without taking any of the ritual, the simplicity, and the truth of it from it. We're simply going to simplify it because that's the way you would experience it from the real teachers. I'm going to count back from 100 to 90, at which point we will all be very quiet. On the way down to 90, we will have let go of our conditioned experiences. Don't try to think of them or draw them in. They'll just appear in a very light, like a pastel little painting with watercolors we've done as a child. They'll just appear like that, and a little jumbled, and we're trying to get better. But we don't react to them, which is the entirety of meditation, of all the spiritual enhancement techniques, is to not react to our conditioning. And when we do that, there'll be no conditioning. We'll pierce right through the veil to the other side, which is the real you. And understand what you gave up to come here out of compassion and empathy to heal the wounded hearts of the entire world. At 90, we will have viewed our entire history moving up to this point in our life. And by not reacting to it and kind of being out of our body and looking at it quietly, it's no more than this. Anything spiritual is always this simple. The world is confused and hardened. You are not confused and hardened. At 90, before time was, before birth, before experience, before light or dark or color, you were a presence of divine stature, of infinite proportion, of unimaginable purity. We let go of the conditioned experience of this one incarnation and remember, we're there at 90. Thank you. Just the breathing. One 100. $99. 98. It'll all come to us in little visages. It'll be the edges of things, but just not react to it. And we're telling our subconscious and our spiritual presence to not react to it. And at 90, there'll be no reaction, just this openness, this kindness, this truth. The real you. 97. 96. 95. 94. This presence is your body. The rest is the illusion spoken of throughout the history of mystic religions. It's the same as falling in love, where the physical dimensions disappear and there's only that heart filled of love and adoration for the other. This whole world collapses when you fall in love with the original you, by falling back into eternal love. We're there at 90, 95, 94. 93. 92. It is this simple to heal and remember. 91. 90. 'There's just this quiet. There's a beauty, a kindness, a strength to it. You can withstand anything, achieve anything, let go of anything, heal anything. It is the real you. You are a spiritual presence, a soul. And that's the truth, and it is this simple. Thank you. We're going to move back now to 80, at which point we're going to wake up one morning, 3 months in the future, after having practiced a little bit of this meditative awareness every day, in a disciplined sense. In other words, we do this to fruition. In other words, we do it. It can be a meditation, any kind of spiritual enhancement technique, gardening, playing with your guitar, your children, reading, anything that takes you away from the normative of material existence. Just a step into this creative atmosphere, which is the outlying lands of your own soul. So if we discipline that in our life, it is not more difficult than that. Then this unimaginable, glorious thing, this power, this atomic device called faith. It's not religious faith, so you believe God eventually will take care of it, you'll go to heaven if you live a good life. This spirituality is the presence of faith. It is the presence of you. You'll know that everything will work to the betterment of your personal and spiritual self. It's the experience of God, faith. It's a divine fire, but it's softly lit, and some days it's electrifying. Sometimes you'll have many, many visions. Sometimes you'll just want to sit back and read. Sometimes you'll find 15 people in one day that you want to work with and fix their lives. And it will all work with such balance that until you're in the experience, you can't dream that life can be this fulfilling. So let's go to that place where we become what faith is, by being spiritual, through remembering what we are and why we're here. And we're there at 80. Our experience is consciousness. So relaxing our consciousness, we can peer through the darkness to eternal dawn. Just words for the presence of spirituality, which is the body of God, which is the body of you. After 3 months of a little work daily, we'll remember. It's not a big fight to become spiritual, it's a quiet remembrance. It's like remembering the words of a love song. Think of it like that, and all will go well. Waking up 3 months from now. 90. 89. 87. 88. 87. 88. 86. 85. 84. 83. 82. 81. 80. Thank you. It's been called a higher consciousness, Buddhahood, the awakened state. It's just a simplicity where you're not reacting to anything and everything. It's like being undersea and things float through and move, but they're quite beautiful. But there's nothing to fear. Fish hooks won't come down here. This is God's land. This is eternity. You will not be hurt. Everything will be healed, and everything you went through, you will see a reason that it was allowed to happen, not by God that you would be hurt. It's you're here of your own volition because you felt a calling. You knew something was wrong somewhere in the universe. And when you're illumined, it's infinite. The wonder of it all, this beauteous presence that we call God, that is our own heart and soul. And it's endless magic and beauty. But we're here because we felt something was needed. And we can never, ever, ever believe as a spiritual presence how bad this thing is. This lower consciousness, this is another world. The world is a hell. And you don't worry about it if you don't react. Train yourself to not react to it. There is no hell because there never was. There's only this higher consciousness. And that's the entirety of spirituality. You call it Buddhism or mysticism or anything. It just is. Because there is a God. And you're here in this bad place to end it. And you've given up your part in divinity to understand this. And these years have trained you to understand how to communicate with people in trouble. And all of our lives are equally egregious. It's not fun being here. And this first moment of enlightenment, you'll know there's nothing to fear. You'll walk through the fire gladly because you want to help, don't you? I know I will. I know I do. Because I know God is. Because I know who we are, what we are, and where we are. There's no fear. There's only this work. You will become utterly brilliant in a few short weeks and months, more than anyone could ever dream in the whole world. You might read a lot just to have the right words and concepts in order to understand how this world really works, and then you can communicate and step through with a higher awareness. It's going to be a wonderful war, boys and girls. You've already won. As soon as you understand and you see and you're regained your true spiritual insight of what and who you are, then it's over. And the devil will run from you. It's said that the devil fears one righteous person more than 1,000 blind believers. And that's the truth. It's a force, but it has no substance. It's substance. It can't do anything. In the Revelation it says it doesn't have legs to walk or arms or a head. It's nothingness. And if you are that powerful and that clear and that fearless, it'll just dissolve and it will flee your every footstep. It's simply like a lost presence. They used to say if a tree fell in the woods and no one was there to hear it, would it make a sound? Well, if the devil has no one to react to him, there is no devil there. There's no devil. There is, but it's simply a lost consciousness. And as crazy and scary as it is, and I've worked with many, many people in my life to bring them back to other lifetimes or childhood, through this, go from 100 to 90, and describe your growing years and what brought you to this place. And then they'll go into little sub-personalities that we all have that are caused by this or that reason, and to be more feminine or masculine, or more this or that, or educated, and as soon as you let go of it all, the good, the bad, and everything else in between, you'll see there's nothing to fear, and the worst parts of your subconscious and the scariest people in your life, they will just not be there. It just won't happen. It'll happen with a divine intelligence where it will go away, and like a little puff of smoke and here and there, and you won't care about your worst enemy, and you'll see how the whole world is just designed to mess with your particular psyche in any way it can. You know why it's been so bad for you? Because you're spiritual. The devil saw you coming, so your life is worse than others. You feel God's pain. So we're more sensitive, we're more caring, we're more decent, we're more compassionate. And that's why things have been so severe from time to time. And these simple processes are all it takes. If you're with the Dalai Lama or whoever, and they're doing their ritual, well, he seems like a very gentle, spiritual person. And when you're with them alone in the room, as I've spent in India many, many years ago, and you're there forever. It never changes. And these are very, 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 very powerful men and ladies, like my friend Frida, who's the abbotess and translator. And these are people made of steel. They're not afraid of anything. There have been thousands of them have self-immolated. They poured gasoline on themselves and lit a fire because to get the attention of the world, whatever, to their situation of millions of murders and all the things that go along with this when a people are subjugated like this. And because they're spiritual, the only statement they made was, hey, something's happening here. Someone care. Someone look into it. Does that make sense? It's not murder, it's not suicide. It's an act of unimaginable grace. If you have this higher consciousness, you're not escaping anything. You're showing that we can walk through flames. And we've all walked through flames emotionally and psychologically, haven't we? And yet we're still here, this presence, this, as I said before, beauteous presence. It's like being in love and just sitting across the room from someone you adore. It's not, there's nothing of want or passion or need of love. It's just appreciation. And when you're here, all of your friends and family, as well as the great teachers or great people from history you're familiar with, they'll be with you always, as well as the old ones, the ancient ones. And when they visit you, can't possibly put it in words. And the one thing you'll never know, because you're selfless, is they have the same experience with you. You are a remarkable, powerful, spiritual soul. You are your soul. You're not the conditioned part of your being that incarnated into this world. Even those words are kind of silly to me because I never feel like I'm Robert Rosenberg or whoever. It makes me crazy sometimes because you can't communicate it, but you can sure as heck live it and know it and understand it and walk with it because it walks with you. Because in every sense it is you. You are your higher nature. And by employing some little grouping of these self-enhancement, spiritual, prayerful, insightful methods to calm yourself, to step away from your conditioning. I'm not saying how or where. I wrote a couple books, Island of Hearts and After Time. In other words, after the sense of time is gone, you're in this timeless place. And read them if you will, and all the details you would imagine and 100,000 more than that will appear in every page. I wrote those to accompany people who've heard me speak because I'm a teacher. And there's a presence with it. And you are a teacher. There's a presence with you. Teach. Forget making it in this world. Just dive into this ocean of presence within your guts and forget all the creeps and the cretins and the strangeness and the weirdness and the reasons why you can or can't do anything, and do it. And this presence will envelop you and elope with you at night into the higher spaces, and the world will know you through the cleanliness of your heart and soul, and it will yield to you. You'll heal, you'll help, you'll direct, you'll redirect, you'll coach, you'll teach, you'll inspire. You'll love many with a transcendent love. There's no clumpiness with it, it just is. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. We're going to continue. No, it's good.